parents are assholes. I know. It's not our fault, though. We're just so stressed out by this whole parenting gig that if we find something that works, we kind of just want to tell you about it, like, all the time. I have this friend who can't get through a conversation with me without saying, as a free-range parent, or my free-range children, as if the rest of us are just like, no free-range kids for me. I prefer my kids factory-farmed and shot up with antibiotics. So we're having this conversation where I'm like, I don't know about letting my kids walk down George Avenue on their own. I'm just not sure. And she says, as a free-range parent, I got to tell you, we just don't give kids enough credit in this country. Kids in Japan as young as 2 are running errands all on their own. And I was like, have you seen the porn that comes out of Japan? Like, no judgment. I mean, the Japanese are known for lots of things. I'm just saying, is internationally acclaimed parenting advice one of those things? Maybe. I have another friend who swears by a philosophy called take your children seriously. I thought it was made up, but it's a real thing. Like, I don't know who came up with that. Like, someone was sitting in a room going, listen, parents, you gotta cut your bullshit out. You gotta take your children seriously. Jesus. So apparently the idea is that you're supposed to never contradict your child. So for like a day, I was like, maybe I should try this. And then I remembered my 4-year-old believes she has a magical pony that flies. And I live in a city with traffic. So like not a good fit. But that's not to say I've never been an asshole. I sure was one. In my first 6 months of parenting, I found something called attachment parenting, which is this idea of just like being attached to your child 24/7. And I told my dad, you kind of did parenting all wrong. Like, the thing you were supposed to be doing, I really said this, the thing you're supposed to be doing was called attachment parenting. And my dad's not even sarcastic, but he just looked at me and was like, as opposed to what, detachment parenting? But I was all in, so I was like, yeah, that's right, Dad. I bet you're rethinking a few things, huh? So with what I thought was like a perfect start in life, like with my son, I was a little surprised when like at 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6, he was just in a lot of ways a typical boy. And by that I mean, like I don't mean to be all gender essentialist or anything, but for a lot of little boys, put something in front of them for long enough and they will eventually beat the shit out of it. And so especially at like kindergarten, first grade, he had a lot of trouble just keeping his hands to himself. And he would get in trouble, and I would just like state the rules over and over, like use your words, keep your hands to yourself, just tell the teacher. And he'd be like, it's not fair. You don't understand. He was really bothering me. So I would just like restate the rules. But sometimes I would get like really practical, and I'd be like, okay, I have a 3-step solution for you. Number 1, stop. Number 2, seriously, this was my solution. Number 2, take a deep breath. Number 3, solve the problem. He was 5. He was 5 years old, so he'd be like, I forget after step 2. And so we would just like go round and round in circles, and not really connecting. And one day, we're in the car, coming home after a long day of school, and I'm just like distracted, I'm not really paying attention. And he is like telling me, he got in trouble again, and he's like, you don't understand. And I'm like, you know what, I do understand. When I was 6, I got kidnapped by a gang of theater kids in a summer production of Merry Wives of Windsor, and it was very harrowing. And my son is like, Kidnapped? And part of me is like, oh shit, this is like not really fitting within my like peaceful parenting narrative. But the other part of me is like, he's really listening. So I'm like, okay, yeah, so there were 5 kids. They all hated me. And one day they all come up to me and like the leader is like, you, come with us. And I'm like, no, I don't think that's a good idea. Because like even at age 6, I knew that rule, never let the theater kids take you to the second location. But I admit, I was curious, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. So I go with them. And they take me to this rehearsal room that's like empty except for some adults in a corner like doing breathing exercises and this big stage curtain. And they're like, it's behind the curtain. And I'm like, but they're like, there's 5 of them, right? So I'm like, okay, fine. So I go behind the curtain. Of course, it's just a wall. And like they spring into action. There's like 3 on one side, 2 on the other. And they pull the curtain tight around me. Like I don't know what they're going to do. I'm kind of like just frozen and panicking. And then they start yelling at me. They're like, try to get free, try. And I'm just like, not moving. And then the leader gets like so mad that he takes his entire body weight and like slams it up on top of me. And something in me snaps, and I just like ball up my fist. I punch him as hard as I can in the back, and he makes this sound like oof, and like deflates to the ground. And the other kids just like back off the curtain, and I pull the curtain aside to run out of the room, and by the way, the adults are still doing breathing exercises. At the time, I was like, wow, they're just really committed to their craft. But now I feel like I don't care how child-free you are. Like, if a kid is getting suffocated in the back of the room, might you say something? So I run out of the room, and for the rest of the summer, they don't bother me. I look up in my rearview mirror as I finish telling the story, and my son is like, awesome! Like, he loved every minute of it. Like, it's just dawned on him that I was, once a child. And, like, it was this unexpected, unplanned moment of connection. And I'm just sitting there going, I have no idea what I am doing as a parent. Like, at any given moment, I'm just making it up. We all are. And if anyone tells you differently, they're kind of an asshole. Thank you.